Hi, I'm James Eade of the Eade Foundation, but you can call me Jim. The Eade Foundation is dedicated to building communities through chess. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk and continue the series on unsung chess heroes. And I'll tell you who the unsung chess hero is today a little bit later. But right now, I want to talk a little bit about me and a little about the Eade Foundation. You know, I started in chess in 1972, and there's no bonus points for guessing why, but I wanted to get really good at it really fast. I liked it. I enjoyed it. And there was great chess literature available to me. My father would bring me little used books by older chess masters, and I just really got into it. So I got pretty good, pretty young, but I was still in high school. I started, and this is a picture of me in 1935, and I was winning adult tournaments, and I thought I was pretty hot stuff. I ended up becoming a FIDE master, which is a title that you get, and it indicates you're a master no matter what country you're in. People know what that title means. So I thought I was a big shot. And so I started to fight with grandmasters. And oh man, I got a couple licks in, but they were pretty much stronger than me. And you know, I found out that they were just too strong. And I never became a grandmaster. I was stuck at FIDE master. So what did I do? I started to organize. I started to run tournaments, international master norm tournaments, grandmaster norm tournaments, and I started to write and write articles and books about chess. And in 20 some year, I think it was like around August 2018. Oh yeah, August 2018, I got an outstanding career achievement award from the United States Chess Federation, and I got this book published, Chess for Dummies. You think, well, what a stupid title. You're insulting the audience in the title. Oh, they can't possibly sell. Well, it was published in 1996 and it's still selling, and it's still selling very well. Smartest thing I ever did in chess. But then I worked for I was president of the US Chess Trust for 10 years. I was part of the trust for 20 years, and I loved it. It was a great organization. But the problem was people would call us from other countries, and our charter was only for the United States. So I said, what can I do for other countries? And, nothing. So I started my own foundation, the Eade Foundation. And this is a little outdated map. We're in more countries than this, but my producer is again angry at me because he sent me an updated one and I lost it. So next show, probably, I hope, if he's nice to me, I'll get an updated version. But the Eade Foundation also we're interested in scholastic chess. This is a chess we sponsor chess for youth. If you give the gift of chess to a child, you give a gift that lasts a lifetime. And we're also supporting chess in senior centers around the country because keeping your mind active doesn't prevent these horrible diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia in general. It's like, but it can delay the onset of symptoms. And this is another gift, a gift of chess that lasts a lifetime. So that's why I've been doing it. That's why I got started. And so, we also get a little bit of recognition, like our website has won the chess. This is their 2021, the overall best chess website award from the Chess Journalists. That's pretty cool. And if you want to see that website, I can show you. There's a little scroll across the bottom of the screen. And all you have to do is go there. And you know what? If you go there, there's this little donate button. Because if you want to help people, if you want to help us help them, you can donate on that site. And everybody needs help, and the Eade Foundation cannot do it alone. The demand is far greater than the supply. But that's enough about me. That's enough about the Eade Foundation. Let's get back to the unsung chess hero of the day. The man is named Taylor Kingston. Taylor, hello. Thank you for joining.
Hello, Jim. My pleasure.
Thank you. Now, I first learned about Taylor Kingston. He was publishing books and these articles, and he was doing these corrections of things. And one of the things I noticed about our chess culture is that there were a lot of little little stories that we told, and some of them weren't true. And Taylor, you came to my attention by being a source of truth, source of telling the truth about the old stories that we told ourselves, which ones were not true, which ones were accurate, and also you've done a lot about the old analysis that we took for granted, and you've put using computer engines and that sort of thing, corrected some of that analysis. Can you tell me a little bit about how you've gone about doing all of that, how you brought the past into the present?
Well, as far as correcting old stories that are not true, my guiding light was and still is Edward Winter.
Yes. Shout out.
Who set himself that task several decades ago. And I started reading his books, and he still has a website and a whole lot of tales and anecdotes that I read from people like Reinfeld, Irving Chernev, Al Horowitz, and other American writers of my early years.
Yes.
Not to be bunk.
Great stories.
Never happened, or the way they had related these tales, where there were gross exaggerations and things like that. So I resolved to avoid that sort of thing in my own chess writings, and I strive very hard to be factually accurate in anything I say. I don't always succeed. I'm human like anybody else, but I do try to be very scrupulous about that. The analyses of old games, that came about when I was working for Russell Enterprises. I edited several classic books, turning them in from descriptive notation to algebraic.
Right.
This would be like Alekhine's Best Games collection, Tartikover's Best Game collection, several others. And I was using ChessBase for this. And in the process of going through the games and converting them to algebraic, I also had an analysis engine running in the background. And every now and then I'd be playing through an actual game line or an analytical variation, and the computer would say, "Whoa, error."
Yeah.
And so I decided to start compiling analytical supplements that would note these errors and give what would have been the best moves at those points. And I found I really enjoyed this work, not in any spirit of belittling the old masters,
Right.
but just in the cause of chess truth.
Yes. Sure.
Unlike life, on the chessboard, you can often find an exactly correct line of play. And so I wanted to discover those. And it was a wonderful feeling when I came across that sort of thing. So we started, the first two that received that kind of analysis were Laster's Common Sense in Chess and Laster's Manual of Chess. And in those, Hannon Russell and I decided to put the corrections in an appendix at the end of the book. But
is this one of them?
That's one of them. Yeah, that's Laster's Manual of Chess, the algebraic edition, which I
21st century
very much. But then I thought it was kind of awkward at some points to just leave a bad variation in place. But also I did not want to disrupt the author's original.
I see the dilemma. Yes.
Thought,
Right.
And so I just hit on the idea of putting these corrections in a separate PDF, portable document file, and we made those available on the Russell Enterprises website. Anyone could download them. Yeah, and that way, the writings of Alekhine or Lasker or Tartikover or Oeve, whoever we're talking about, were preserved verbatim, but one could find out any mistakes that we discovered.
Did you make a notation in the variation that there was?
No.
Oh, okay. So you just left it there.
When we did it as an appendix in the book, yes, we'd put a little, end note indicator.
Yeah.
But with the supplements, you just go to the supplement, and here we are, Game 4, Yates versus Tartikover, and this is what was found.
Right.
And if I found no errors, well, that game just didn't even go into the supplement.
Right. That's it. That's a great way to handle it, I think, without interrupting the flow, but indicating that there is a correction if you're interested.
It has worked well, and I got so interested in this kind of work that I just started doing it with other books. I did it with the books that I was not charged with editing and bringing into algebraic notation. The Capablanca's My Chess Career, Lasker's book of St. Petersburg, 1909.
Right.
Several others. Reinfeldt and Fiennes, Lasker's Chess Career, Fiennes, Lessons from My Games, also known as A Passion for Chess, Nemzevich's My System,
yes,
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And these I just made available for free to anyone who is interested, posting them on like the Facebook group Chess Book Collectors.
Yeah, that's a real contribution, and it's one of the ways that I wanted to have you on the show, because people can do their own analysis, and that's only going to be so good. But if you've done the work, why not share it? That's a wonderful thing, and because some people are hoarders of information, but you're a sharer. I really appreciate that. It's a good character.
If I discover anything interesting, I'm happy to share it.
Right. Well, the other thing you mentioned is when you were assigned to be an editor. What's that like, editing a book? I'm a terrible editor.
Oh, well, I don't know. I paid attention in English class.
Oh, that was the difference.
And so for one thing, I know all the rules of punctuation and spelling. I can make a sentence more readable, more brief, that sort of thing. Some of the editing I did was of books written by people who did not have English as their first language.
Oh, yes, you can see that.
Their English kind of funny now and then. I fix.
Yes.
But it's just an interesting process of just putting the book together physically, and I might add more diagrams.
So did you have page layout responsibility as well?
No, that ultimately was done by Han and Russell. I would put these into Word documents, and then he would convert them into something that the actual printer could use. In other cases, the editing job was selecting material that would be included. This was especially true of my first editing job on the book Heroic Tales, The Best of Chess Cafe, 1996 to 2001. I went through the entire website archives.
Wow, because that was a great site, and contributors were countless.
All kinds of different people. Hans Ray, I am Richard Forster, GM Tony Miles, a Q&A thing from Bruce Pandolfini, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Book reviews, which I wrote quite a few. I wrote about 130 book reviews over a span of 10 years for the Chess Cafe.
Yeah, and I that's another thing I want to make sure that the audience, hi Mom, is aware that that your reviews were really good. You know, you and John Watson, guys like you, the two of you were people that if you liked a book, you know, I knew that I would like it. If you didn't like a book, then I didn't bother with it. You know, there was some credibility behind your reviews.
Well, thank you. Uh, I always tried to have a definite factual basis for whatever I said. If a
Right.
book was good, I could say why. If a book was bad, I could definitely also say why. And I put all that in the
Yes.
review.
It was
So many
subjective.
book reviews, it's like the guy reads the back cover blurb
Yeah.
and then says, "Yeah, I like it," or "No, eh." But I would go into detail, many pages sometimes.
And there was an objectivity to that came across.
I definitely tried. I mean,
Yeah.
there are certain pet peeves I have.
Who
Um,
doesn't?
I don't like flowery language. I'm a believer in that brevity is the soul of wit. Um, I don't like pretentiousness, where a guy is more out to show how erudite and learned he is rather than convey useful information.
Right.
It's
It's like E
the,
equals MC squared is the best mathematical formula because it's so brief. It conveys so much information.
yeah.
But no, I totally agree with you. I don't have that quality to the degree that I want in my own writing, but I know what you mean. That was why when Chess for Dummies, the editors would constantly kick back stuff to me. And that was wonderful to have an editor. And I just never can get over saying that I'm a terrible editor, but editors are what a great thing to have.
No, I almost always had a good relationship with whoever's book was involved, and these varied from relatively simple things to more sophisticated chess instruction and that sort of thing. As far as authors go, I definitely rubbed some the wrong way. There's no doubt about that.
Well, it's easy to do.
Yeah, Don Schultz did not like what I said about his two books, and I had the displeasure of reviewing a book by Erich Schiller once, and it just stank to high heaven. I know they say they don't speak ill of the dead, but I can't help it. And then others I just praised greatly because they deserved it. Jan Hein Donner's anthology, The King, is one of the greatest chess books ever written, in my opinion, also one of the funniest. It's not so much instructional, but the guy was imbued with the culture of chess.
Yes.
And it comes through in his writings. He was also somewhat egotistical and
Common character defect.
more than a bit sexist. But
that's a shame, but that was part of our.
But he was aware of this, and he would sometimes poke holes in his own pomposity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt that took the edge off his
right.
style.
It's the people who don't know they're that way that rub you the wrong way. Yeah. So that's great. This is what I think of you as adding to the chess culture, is bringing the past to the present, adding accuracy to some of the analysis, and also I would think that you must know more. If English is not the only language that you know. Am I right in guessing that?
Yes, that's true. I speak pretty fluent Spanish, not quite so fluent German, a smattering of other languages, French, Italian, even a little Esperanto, although that hasn't proved useful at all in chess editing.
Right.
I've had the pleasure to translate 3 books from Spanish for Russell Enterprises. The first was Vida y Partidas de Carlos Torre, The Life and Games of Carlos Torre.
What a great player! Kind of a mediocre career, though.
Very, very much so. Yeah, he was born in Mexico, moved to New Orleans in his youth, and was quite the chess prodigy. Then went to New York to try himself against the nation's best, and did very, very well. This is all when he was not quite 20 or in his early 20s. And then he went to Europe, played in several very strong European tournaments, came back to the USA.
He acquitted himself quite well there, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He did quite well. He had draws with Alekhine and Capablanca. He defeated Lasker in a very famous game. Defeated good many of the strong European masters, like Reti was one. If I had the book beside me, I could.
That's okay. That's all right.
I could run them all off.
Right.
But then in 1926, after he'd been prominent in chess for only like 3 years, he suffered a nervous breakdown, returned to Mexico, and never played serious chess again. So Gabriel Velasco of Mexico City had done a lot of research on him, written a very nice book in Spanish about him, a game collection and biography, and an interview he conducted shortly before Torre died. And it was my privilege to translate that into English. There'll be a second edition coming out, I hope, next year, where I will be adding more biographical information. And
I'm a snoop, so I dug around. And is this it? What you're talking
about? No, that's Keller. I did not send you.
Yes, of course.
I did not send you a cover for Torre.
Anyway, okay.
And it will be all computer-assisted analysis, so
I see.
The notes will be quite different. What you let me just finish with the
yeah. I'm sorry. I had a little disconnect there.
The second one was Najdorf's book on the 1953 Zurich Candidates Tournament.
Wow.
Wonderful book.
Yeah.
Najdorf, it was published in Argentina, only in Spanish. It was the only book Najdorf ever wrote. I translated that into English and converted it to algebraic notation. Some wonderful games there. It's one of the major tournaments in chess history.
Yes.
Then the last one is a biography of Najdorf by his daughter Liliana, and it's called Najdorf X Najdorf, Najdorf by Najdorf.
Uh-huh.
And, she gives a lot of intimate details about her father's life, going way back to even before he was born, his family origins in Poland, and how he managed to stay alive in Argentina after World War II forced him to remain there. He could not return to Poland.
Right.
And,
so many people were
intimate details about his marriage and child rearing and other things. Very, very interesting book. One of the most intimate portraits of a great player that I've ever come across.
Well, he was like, if you're part of the Fisher Boom, which I assume you are too, Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. And, Najdorf was just a prominent grandmaster in those days.
Ever from the mid 1930s on into 1980s, he was always among the top rank.
Right.
And then let's see, German came into play when I worked on the Lasker Reader.
I think I do have that.
Yeah. Emanuel Lasker, a reader. It's a collection of his writings, mostly about chess, but also on other subjects, philosophy, mathematics, sociology, games other than chess, political science, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow.
And
Yeah, he was quite the erudite.
yeah. Very, very learned polymath.
Yeah.
And then the one book of which I am sole author is Edgar Keller, Caice's Wounded Warrior. Yeah, there it's
Well, can I correct you on that pronunciation? It's Kali.
well, that's how the Americans say it. But then you'll also find Americans who say Capablanca and Huey and Alice.
Fianchetto.
Yeah.
Fianchetto. Yeah.
Yeah. That actually was born out of one of my analytical projects. Fred Reinfeld wrote a book called Colley's Chess Masterpieces. And I started analyzing that, and Reinfeld made some serious mistakes. Some of the games in there were no masterpieces at all. So I decided, well, we should have a more objective book about Edgar Keller, and that's what I wrote. And it seems to have had a good reception, and I hope it sells 1 million.
This is it.
Yeah.
And say the name the way he would say it.
As near as I've been able to determine, it's more like Keller.
Good.
It's the O there is pronounced more like an umlauted O in German,
Okay.
where you, well, I won't go into that, but
Yeah.
it's not Collie.
Right.
Collie's the dog.
Okay. So I grew up mispronouncing that all my life, and I called it Malachine. Yeah, I grew up in New England. We only spoke. We didn't pronounce our R's. There was a lot of. Yeah, that's all right. What's that school you're talking? You went to Harvard? Yeah.
Harvard, yeah.
So
UCLA here, class of 1970.
All right. I went to UMass, class of 78. So we're not that far apart. And I think that these contributions, causing us to remember, was he the greatest player in the world? Probably not. Was he a very interesting player and a very competitive with some of the best of his time? Yes. And was his career long? No. But does it work? Is it worth studying? Yes. So absolutely. That's a great contribution.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like with Torre, I was taken with the handicaps under which Keller labored. He had a chronic gastric ulcer condition.
Oh.
And some players always claim ill health when they lose. Well,
yeah.
Keller was in ill health, win or lose, but he never complained.
Right.
And nowadays his ulcer could have been cured easily with antibiotics, probably, but he went through several surgeries, and the last of them killed him. And so his career was cut short, as was Torres, as was Morphy before that.
Yes.
So several other such players are added
to pride and sorrow.
Yes. To the list of chess's tragic heroes or what ifs. Had they lived, how great could they have been?
Yeah, and allied Rubinstein to that, because the outbreak of World War I probably prevented him from being world champion, or that's my opinion. But that he was just right there, ready. It seemed. And
he actually had an agreement with Lasker for a title match in place in 1914, assuming Rubinstein could have come up with the funds, which is
a big if,
questionable. Right. But then the war broke out, and everything went away. Right. And another thing I'm working on right now in connection with Lasker and World War I is a translation of kind of a glorified pamphlet he wrote in 1915. In German, it's Die Selbsttäuschungen unserer Feinde. In English, the self-deceptions of our enemies. And it was a justification, the justification for Germany's actions in World War I, why the German cause was just,
righteous, yeah,
and
I get you.
yeah, just, righteous, and good. How the Entente powers, England, France, and Russia, were morally and militarily inferior to Germany. And
I thought I knew a lot about Lasker. I did not know that.
It's not a well-known work, but recently a German university made available scanned PDFs of the thing. Let's see if I have it here. Yeah, I don't know where I put it. And I really wanted to put this in the Lasker Reader, but nothing could be found back when I was working on that 2-3 years ago. Now, suddenly, it's available. You can even buy it through Walmart's website. And yeah, so it's not Lasker's best work, shall we say.
Yeah.
Some of his put downs of English and French culture are extreme, and his praise of German culture is perhaps over the top, and his predictions that Germany would win were all wrong.
And was there something, do you think of something similar to the controversy about Leckian's writings in World War II?
I don't think Lasker's thing deserves that kind of stigma. Yeah, Alekhine wrote, or was forced to write, or somebody else wrote, and he put his name on it. It's
right.
not clear what, but a complete anti-Semitic screed saying how Jewish chess players had a negative concept of the game, that they were concerned just with.
It was heinous. Yeah.
Defensive chess, whereas Aryan chess was noble and dynamic and the spirit of attack. I mean, it was just rubbish.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I thought it was under pressure of some sort. Do you think Lasker really believed what he was writing in that article, or there was some pressure for him to do it?
No, I think he really believed it. See,
okay.
Germany in World War I was not anti-Semitic. The Germany of 1914 was quite different from the Nazi Germany of World War II. There was anti-Semitism, yes, but it was not official policy. The Germans were not oppressing, much less exterminating Jews.
But it was a culture, superior
and
culture.
Germany was not bent on world domination and enslavement of subject peoples.
I see.
Sort of thing in World War I. And Lasker himself was Jewish, so he certainly wouldn't have praised his country had anti-Semitism been official policy.
Right.
So no, I think Lasker.
No, but it was a cultural superiority.
So. He believed German culture was superior, and there's definite points where that is true. But I just think the making this available to an English-speaking audience will give them just one little more important bit about Lasker's personality and outlook on life. And I certainly don't blame Lasker for writing in support of his country in a time of war.
Right. Well, and also, we can't judge by today's standards what people thought in a completely different environment, a completely different time. So but it is important to know, in my opinion, it's nice. It's a nice contribution to the culture, because we don't want to be ashamed of the past, but we don't want to be ignorant of it either. So, knowing the truth is the idea.
Yeah. I mean, chess analysis is the search for objective truth, objective fact. And I think chess history should be the same. Another thing I work on, have for close to the last 20 years, relating to chess history, is the International Chess Calendar.
Oh,
I think
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what I associate that with Russell Enterprises, and I only learned.
It's printed by Russell Enterprises, but I've been the editor of that.
That's what I didn't know.
For about 20 years. I'm not sure exactly when it started. There was a period where Han and Russell decided not to publish it, but now it's started up again. And for each month of, say, 2021, I present things that happened 25 years ago, 50 years ago, 75 years ago, and 100 years ago in that month. Yes, that shows that. And I love digging back into chess history to get relevant events,
Yeah, it's so cool that you do that.
What was going on in 1921 on a particular month? And so I give tournament results or significant developments, like an agreement was signed for a world championship match, or there was a world champion match, like in 1921, Capablanca defeated Lasker, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just love going back into the past about that. I also,
one of the differences is I love that stuff too, but I'm not willing to do the work, and that's why you're the unsung hero. You do the research and then make it and share it, make it available to guys like me who are maybe not as
love it. I had a wonderful teacher in high school, a man named John M. Daly. He unusual for a high school teacher. He was a graduate of Princeton. He was also retired lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Marines. He fought in World War II and Korea. And he had a great knowledge of history. He imbued us with a love of history. I also learned pretty much how to write, do expository writing in his class, so that you put your ideas down in an organized fashion. You cite your sources where they are relevant, and all of that is carried down to this day in a lot of what I write.
Yes, what a great contribution to your development, and who knows how many others.
Yeah. Well, it's just I mean, nobody who was in one of Mr. Daly's classes ever forgot him. Maybe they didn't learn as much as some of us did, but they never forgot him. He was a man with a commanding presence, as you would expect.
And wise guys like me didn't last very long, I bet. No, I would have straightened up and gotten into that. That sounds wonderful, like a wonderful experience. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I say. Not all the strongest players don't make the best teachers. It's always it's something about the quality of the teacher that you had in high school that is inspirational, inspires you, and teaches you the accuracy. But it's not just the accuracy. You don't want to make mistakes in your analysis. You don't want to make mistakes in your historical record. But you want to be able to present it in a way that inspires others. Because the love of the game, once you get it, it's hard to shake.
Yeah, I think my interest in chess history started with a book that was also my real introduction on how to play better, which is Irving Chernev's Logical Chess, Move by Move.
Move by Move. Yes.
That was my road to Damascus.
Yeah.
Chess has principles.
Yeah.
And if you learn them, then you can play better and win more often. I was just
there's rules. You play by the rules.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I read this and the scales fell from my eyes. But also he talked about the history of the game some. I remember one game by Capablanca, and he says, "Now watch while the greatest genius chess ever produced does such and such, promotes this pawn to win the game," something like that. And I thought, oh wow,
Wow.
so there's history behind chess,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
And this
and
build up too. This
yeah,
build up.
so I wanted to find out who Capablanca was, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that led to finding out who Alekhine was, and it went in both directions
Yeah.
from him back to Lasker and Steinitz and Morphy, and forward from that to Eva and Botvinnik, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, well, we grew up with Reinfeld and Chernoff as the basically the books that were available in the used bookstores that my dad went to get, and whatever their analytical errors were, they did inspire a generation of people to fall in love with chess.
Yeah, and they did a lot more good than harm. Yeah, you can pick
Yes,
flaws in
sure.
the analysis, and alas, Chernev's book has more than a few, but it still was great for kindling an interest in chess and giving you a halfway decent idea of how to think and play better.
Well, Taylor, I've got to start wrapping up, but my producer's saying, like I didn't ask you the basic questions, like where are you from, where do you live now, and I just got right into it, and how did you get started in chess? So if you can quickly do that.
Okay. Well, I was born in San Diego, lived there about the first half of my life. Got interested in, well, first I learned chess from my father at about age 10 or so, but I didn't begin studying it seriously until high school, and I didn't begin rated tournament play until 1972 with the Fisher boom. I got married, moved around the country quite a bit to the Bay Area, to Missouri near St. Louis, Ohio near Cincinnati, 16 years in Vermont, 1995 to 2011. At that point, I got divorced and moved back to San Diego, where I reconnected with an old sweetheart from junior high school days. And she was newly single. We got together and we fell back in love with each other. And now we're happily married and living in Paso Robles in the Central Coast area of California.
Right.
And then my active playing career was kind of an off and on thing. I had to balance chess against family and professional obligations. I have two daughters who now have children of their own. They're all back in Vermont. I had a main career as a computer programmer in the banking business. I did that for nearly 30 years. Computer programming is kind of like chess analysis. A lot of similarities. So that was
and grammar too. Your English classes came in too.
Yeah, that was very congenial for me.
Yeah.
Now I'm retired.
But I'm going to guess that you made your over the board play was not necessarily something to crow about, but I bet your correspondence play was. Given your nature, what you told us about your nature, I bet you were a correspondence player.
That is true. Yeah. In over the board play, I've never been that far over 1800. I've hung up my spurs with a rating of 1811. And correspondence play in the early 80s, and this is way before computers could have any great impact on correspondence play. I got up close to 2300. I think it's about 22.7 ELO. USCF was using a different rating system back then. but it translates to about 2,700. I mean, 20,
23?
2270.
Okay.
2270 ELO. And I was among the USCF's top 50. I placed about in the top 20 of one of their Golden Knights tournaments.
I've competed in those.
Yeah.
Never got that kind of result. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's impressive. And that's their analytical nature. That's the,
right. Yeah. In over the board chess with the time limits, I never could think fast enough and deeply enough to get to the truth of an important variation often. But in postal chess, you've got several days and you can move the pieces around on the board.
Yeah.
So big no-no in over the board chess. So yeah, postal chess was congenial for me.
This is our in our synopsis of our different characters. You know, you're that correspondence player, and I used to play 2-minute chess with international master Danny Kopek. Countless games of 2-minute chess because it's just what it pops into my mind comes out of my mouth. So I love the speed and the speed games, and
speed chess is my worst. At 5-minute chess, I'm maybe in the 15 or 1600s, and
of course, as you get older, you can still do the analysis, but your speed goes.
Yeah, well, that's why I stopped playing OTB. It's like football players or boxers when they reach a certain age, they say, you hang on too long, you start embarrassing yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
So
I just can't physically move the pieces fast enough now. So just accept it's not my thing anymore.
But I just want to keep working on chess-related projects as much as I can in my remaining years. Excuse me.
Well, I certainly hope you do, because what you've produced in the past has been excellent. And I thank you so much for coming on to the show today. Is there anything that I've forgotten to ask you about that you really would want to talk to the audience about?
I think we've covered about all the bases. I just love being a member of the international chess community, and so many good people I've encountered, mostly through the internet, some in person, and on the whole, chess players are good people, and I love associating with them.
On that note, I'll say goodbye to you. That's a wonderful conclusion. Thanks again, Taylor. I'm going to take you backstage now and wrap up the show. Thanks again. All right, that was Taylor Kingston, and was a wonderful, wonderful look into somebody who's completely different from me, but still loves the game as much as I do. And getting back to the Eid Foundation, he's talking about joining the internet chess community, and if you can, wonderful. That's what it's all about, connecting with others. And what I really admire about Taylor is that he gets information and he shares it, rather than hoarding it like so many do. So the thing is, think about others. Think about those who have internet access can play anyone, anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter what country you're from. It doesn't matter what language you speak. But what about those that don't have that access? Can't you help them build their community wherever they are, whatever country they're in, whatever language you speak? Because that's what the Eid Foundation is trying to work on, getting people chess equipment and information to people who can't don't have the resources to get it themselves. Give it to them, share it with them. This is the nature of the Foundation. So this has been the Chess Files. The answers are out there every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And I hope that you will tune in then. Thanks again for joining us. It's been my pleasure, and I hope it was Taylor's pleasure, because it was my pleasure to have him as a guest. Thanks.